Welcome, dear listener, to a journey into the quiet wonders of the natural world, a gentle exploration of a creature so remarkable, its very existence challenges what we thought possible. Tonight we'll allow our minds to drift into the depths of the ocean, where a tiny, unassuming inhabitant holds a secret so profound. It stirred disbelief in the hearts of seasoned scientists. Let us prepare to unwind, to release the day's tensions, and to simply listen as the quiet mystery of the immortal jellyfish unfolds, guiding us softly towards a peaceful and restorative sleep. Imagine, if you will, the hushed atmosphere of a scientific conference. The air is often thick with anticipation, with the murmur of intellects gathering, ready to absorb new knowledge, new theories, new revelations from the dedicated work of researchers across the globe. It was at just such a gathering, the second conference of the Hydrazone Society, that a paper was presented, a series of observations so revolutionary, so utterly unexpected, that many in the audience found themselves wrestling with a profound sense of skepticism. It was difficult to believe, it seemed to many impossible. One attendee, a marine biologist of considerable respect and experience, vocalized this incredulity, stating quite plainly that the observation described in the paper was, in fact, totally impossible. These words, spoken with the weight of years of study and understanding of marine life, highlight the sheer magnitude of the discovery about to be revealed. It was a revelation that defied conventional biological wisdom, gently pushing the boundaries of what was thought to be the unchangeable order of life and death in the animal kingdom. And as is often the case with the most profound discoveries, this remarkable insight into the very nature of existence began with a simple yet significant mistake. It was in the quiet confines of a laboratory, sometime in the late 1980s, that two diligent students, perhaps a little preoccupied with their myriad tasks, collected a specimen. They believed it to be a common, if tiny, jellyfish known as Turritopsis nutricula. This particular species, less than a centimeter long, is a miniature marvel in its own right, a delicate, almost translucent umbrella drifting through the ocean currents. The individuals these students gathered were in their immature adult medusae form. This means they had not yet reached sexual maturity. They were not yet able to fulfill the fundamental biological purpose of releasing eggs and sperm, of participating in the grand cycle of reproduction. With the careful hands of those accustomed to handling delicate biological samples, the students gently placed their newly acquired specimens into a tank. Their intention was clear: to breed these tiny creatures for research purposes, to observe their development, to understand their intricate life processes. But as often happens in busy laboratories, with numerous projects vying for attention and the relentless demands of scientific inquiry, the tank and its tiny inhabitants were inadvertently forgotten. Days turned into weeks, perhaps even longer, as the everyday rhythm of laboratory life swept the students away from this particular experiment. When they eventually returned, their expectations were well defined, rooted in the predictable patterns of biological life cycles. They anticipated finding sexually mature adults, perhaps even signs of early reproduction, the next generation gently beginning its journey. But what they discovered instead was truly startling, a quiet puzzle that defied all their assumptions. There were fewer adult medusae than when they had started. This alone would have been perplexing. But more astonishingly, the bottom of the tank was now populated with an abundance of tiny babies, in the form of newly settled polyps. A cascade of questions, quiet yet insistent, must have immediately arisen in their minds. Had these jellyfish reproduced so quickly, so prolifically in their absence? And if they had, what then had become of the original adult medusae? Where had the initial larger forms gone? These were not questions easily dismissed, for they touched upon a fundamental disconnect between observation and expectation. The numbers simply did not add up according to the known rules of life and death, of growth and reproduction, as understood in the biological world. To unravel this quiet enigma, the researchers, now keenly aware that something extraordinary was unfolding, began to keep a close and continuous watch on the individuals remaining in the tank. With meticulous observation, day by day, hour by hour, they sought to understand the silent dance of life and transformation occurring before their very eyes. And what they ultimately found, what they observed with unwavering attention, truly shocked them. The adult medusae, the very jellyfish they had placed in the tank, were not simply spawning and reproducing to create new baby polyps in the conventional sense. No, the adult medusae themselves were undergoing a profound, almost mystical metamorphosis. They were reverting, they were turning back into their juvenile form, completely reversing the aging process. This was not merely a slowing of aging, it was a full, undeniable retreat into youth. The very cells, the very structures that define them as mature adults, were transforming, unspecializing, and rebuilding into the earliest stages of their life cycle. It was a phenomenon so unprecedented, so utterly contradictory to all known biological principles, that it rightfully caused a seismic shift in scientific understanding. It was at this point that the true identity of their specimens became clear. What they had collected was not Turritopsis nutricula, the common species they had initially identified. Instead, they had stumbled upon a different and vastly more extraordinary jellyfish, Turritopsis dawni, and with this corrected identification came the dawning realization of its unparalleled capability. This tiny creature, they understood, possessed the uncanny ability to Benjamin Button itself, not just once, but over and over again. Like the fictional character who ages in reverse, this jellyfish could repeatedly reset its biological clock, returning to its youthful state, an endless cycle of renewal. To the scientists, the implication was staggering, almost inconceivable. They had discovered something akin to biological immortality. In a world perpetually fascinated and often anxious about aging and mortality, the news of this discovery, when it eventually reached the wider public, created an immediate and widespread sensation. The media, ever eager for a captivating story that touches on the deepest human desires, went wild with headlines. Questions swirled. What was this tiny jellyfish's secret to eternal youth? Could it truly live forever, defying the inevitable march of time that governs all other known life forms? And perhaps most compellingly, if it could, how might humanity, in its ceaseless quest for longevity and vitality, be able to harness this age-reversing secret for ourselves? But before we allow our imaginations to run wild with the possibilities, let us first gently turn our attention to understanding how Turritopsis dawni achieves this truly amazing feat. To truly appreciate its unique capability, it's helpful, and indeed quite beautiful, to first look at its normal, albeit extraordinary, life cycle. This immortal jellyfish is technically not a true jellyfish in the strictest biological classification, but rather a hydrazone. It actually spends the majority of its life in what is known as its hydroid stage. However, for the purposes of our quiet journey tonight, and to avoid unnecessary scientific jargon, we will simply refer to it by its commonly used and more evocative name, the immortal jellyfish. The life cycle of this remarkable jellyfish, like so many narratives, begins with its recognizable adult form, the medusae. Picture in your mind's eye these delicate bell-shaped creatures, gently pulsating through the water. When the time is right, often in vast numbers they gather, they swarm, creating a silent, graceful dance in the ocean's currents. This gathering is for a singular vital purpose: reproduction. In this grand aquatic ballet, they release millions upon millions of eggs and sperm into the water, a cloud of potential new life. Most species of jellyfish will participate in this swarming behavior, often in the hundreds or even thousands, a collective effort to ensure the continuation of their kind. Within this vast biological lottery, when a sperm successfully fertilizes an egg, a new journey begins. The fertilized egg, a microscopic sphere of potential, will soon grow and develop into what is called a planula. Imagine this as a tiny, unassuming larva, barely visible, gently floating, drifting with the currents, a silent voyager in the vast ocean. Within a day or two, this planula, guided by unseen forces, will seek out a suitable resting place. It needs a hard surface, perhaps a smooth, weathered rock on the sea floor, a sturdy piece of coral, or even the solid hull of a passing vessel. Once it finds its chosen spot, it will gently but firmly adhere to it, settling down for the next phase of its extraordinary life. Now securely attached to its perch, the planula begins its transformation. It starts to grow upwards slowly, deliberately, forming a structure that looks surprisingly unlike the delicate jellyfish we usually envision. This is the polyp stage, and if you were to observe it, you might mistake it for a tiny translucent plant. It typically consists of a long, slender stem, gently swaying in the subtle underwater currents, topped with a bulbous head. This head is where the magic truly begins, for it develops a small mouth, almost imperceptible, and a crown of long, waving, thread-like fingers, or tentacles. The polyp, now firmly rooted, feeds by subtly drawing in food through its mouth. Its delicate tentacles play a crucial role, gently extending and retracting, helping to grab and guide microscopic particles and organisms from the surrounding water. It's a quiet, efficient method of sustenance, allowing it to grow and mature in its stationary state. And then something truly astonishing begins to happen. The polyp, having established itself and grown, transforms into a remarkable biological production line. It doesn't simply grow larger. It starts to create a stack of cloned, nearly identical jellyfish, one atop the other, like a delicate living totem pole. Each segment of this stack is a nascent jellyfish, developing and maturing in sequence. When the topmost, most mature clone is finally ready, fully formed and prepared for its independent existence, it is gently released. It floats off into the water, a tiny, exquisite version of a jellyfish, known at this stage as an ephora. Now alone, adrift in the immense, quiet expanse of the ocean, the ephora has a simple yet all-consuming task: to eat and to grow. It will spend its days consuming microscopic sustenance, gradually increasing in size, its delicate bell slowly developing and refining its form. Eventually, through this process of growth and maturation, it will transform into the adult medusa, the recognizable jellyfish form that first embarked on the reproductive journey. For most species of jellyfish, this is the natural end of the line. They will continue to live as medusae, swimming, eating, and spawning, completing their biological purpose until, in the quiet course of nature, they eventually die. Their life cycle, while beautiful and complex, adheres to the universal truth of mortality. But Turritopsis dani, our extraordinary subject, possesses a truly nifty hack, a profound biological innovation that allows it to circumvent this slight, yet inevitable, inconvenience of death. This tiny jellyfish, when faced with conditions that would spell the end for almost any other creature, can initiate a remarkable reversal. Should it experience high levels of stress, perhaps a sudden change in water temperature, or an unusual disturbance in its environment, or should it face the quiet desperation of starvation, or even suffer physical damage, a profound transformation begins. It sends all of its specialized cells, every single one, back into a younger, more generalized state. It is as if an unseen hand gently turns back the hands of its biological clock. The jellyfish, no longer able to sustain its adult form, visibly shrinks. Its delicate tentacles, once extended and graceful, retract, pulling inwards. The elegant medusa, its bell shape collapsing, gradually transforms into a small, unassuming, almost blobby structure. This form is known as a cyst, and just as its ancestors did in the planular stage, this cyst, now utterly changed from its adult medusa form, gently settles onto the ocean floor, finding a quiet place to rest and begin anew. The speed of this transformation is as remarkable as the process itself. Within an astonishing 3 days, this quiet, unassuming, blobby cyst begins to stir. It starts to grow, slowly, steadily, back into the familiar form of a polyp, and with that, the entire extraordinary process has come full circle from an adult medusa, through the cyst, and back to a polyp. The entire cycle of rejuvenation can be completed in approximately a week. Imagine for a moment the profound implications of this. It is truly like a butterfly, having reached the peak of its mature beauty, somehow possessing the inherent ability to turn itself back into a caterpillar. But so, how does an adult jellyfish, with all its specialized cells and developed structures, manage to turn back into a baby polyp? What is the underlying mechanism that allows for this quiet revolution within its tiny body? The immortal jellyfish can achieve this astonishing rejuvenation through a process that scientists call cellular transdifferentiation. This is a truly remarkable biological phenomenon, where a cell of one specific type, fully specialized for its particular function, directly transforms into an entirely different type of cell. Crucially, it does so without first reverting to a neutral, unspecialized intermediate form, like a stem cell. It's a direct, elegant and quiet transformation, a complete repurposing of cellular identity. Early studies into this process revealed another intriguing detail. The medusa of Turritopsis dohrnii doesn't seem to contain stem cells. Stem cells, as many of us understand, are a type of cell that possesses the remarkable potential to be turned into almost any kind of cell in the body, acting as a versatile blank slate for growth and repair. The absence of these master cells in the medusa only makes the jellyfish's feat more astonishing. It means that its existing, already specialized cells are not replaced by new, unspecialized ones. Rather, they are themselves completely reprogrammed and repurposed for new roles. It's an internal alchemy, a quiet reordering of its very being. Scientists, peering closely into the microscopic world of the jellyfish, have found that the cells of the top layer of its delicate dome-shaped bell, along with the cells that make up its intricate canal system, essentially the jellyfish's digestive network, are the most likely candidates to undergo this profound transformation. These are the cells that quietly, yet completely, turn into new cell types, initiating the journey back to the polyp stage. Of course, the cells that form the dome of a medusa are fundamentally different from the cells that constitute a polyp. They have distinct structures, unique functions, and specialized roles, each perfectly suited to the particular needs of their respective life stages. Yet, it is through this process of transdifferentiation that the immortal jellyfish can coax these highly specialized medusa cells to quietly shed their current identities and assume the forms and functions of polyp cells. This extraordinary reversal of development flies in the face of long-held common ideas about aging and cellular fate, ideas that have been deeply ingrained in our understanding of the animal kingdom. For a long time, it has been widely believed that sexual maturation for any animal marks a definitive point of no return. The understanding was that once cells commit to a particular specialized role, they are largely stuck in that function. They will continue to perform their designated duties until they reach senescence, the biological process of cellular aging and eventual cell death. This is the natural, quiet progression that leads, ultimately, to the death of the organism. But the immortal jellyfish, in its quiet defiance of these established rules, demonstrates a different path. It can turn its cells back into their earlier juvenile state at any point in its life cycle. Whether it is a newly produced medusa, fresh from its ephemera stage, or an old-timer nearing what would traditionally be the verge of death, the capacity for reversal remains. All that seems to be needed is a certain trigger, a bit of external shock or internal stress, to gently nudge it towards this profound renewal. In the very first experiments that proved this astonishing phenomenon, a mere pinch with a pair of fine tweezers was enough to gently persuade these tiny creatures to revert, to begin their quiet journey back to youth. Even now, as our scientific understanding grows, we still don't know the exact, intricate molecular mechanisms by which Turritopsis dani achieves this quiet miracle. The full symphony of cellular signaling and gene expression remains a subject of intense, yet quiet, research. However, scientists have taken a closer look at the cells within the cyst form of the immortal jellyfish, the unassuming blob that settles on the ocean floor, and they have found some truly interesting differences when compared to its polyp state. These subtle distinctions could offer us valuable clues, gently guiding us towards understanding how the immortal jellyfish meticulously prepares for its new life, how it orchestrates its quiet rebirth. While in its cyst form, this tiny jellyfish, Turritopsis dani, seems to dedicate a significant amount of its precious energy to internal upkeep. It's a period of quiet, meticulous maintenance, a biological pause dedicated to self-renewal. In particular, it focuses with remarkable diligence on looking after its DNA, the blueprint of its very existence. The jellyfish appears to possess an extraordinary ability to protect and repair its telomeres. Let us consider telomeres for a moment, and perhaps you can visualize them as the delicate, protective plastic bits on the ends of our shoelaces. Just as these plastic caps prevent the laces from fraying and unraveling, telomeres are strands of DNA found at the very ends of our chromosomes. They act as protective caps, safeguarding the rest of our vital DNA from damage, especially during the crucial process of cell replication. Each time a cell divides, a tiny, almost imperceptible bit of DNA is naturally lost from these telomeres. In humans, because these telomeres are extremely long to begin with, there is a considerable amount to lose before any of the truly important genetic information-carrying DNA is affected. However, inevitably, over the course of an organism's life, these telomeres are gradually ground down, becoming shorter and shorter, until they are reduced to almost nothing. When this happens, the underlying essential DNA becomes more exposed, more prone to damage, and this increased vulnerability often leads directly to cell death, and ultimately, to the death of the organism itself. This is a fundamental process that occurs in humans, and indeed in most multicellular organisms. This shortening of telomeres, as it is known, is a key, undeniable element of the aging process. But in the quiet, unassuming cysts of Turritopsis dani, a different story unfolds. Scientists have observed that there appears to be a particularly high number of genes expressed that specifically promote the activity of an enzyme called telomerase. Telomerase is a remarkable enzyme that acts like a cellular repair crew, diligently working to repair and even elongate telomeres. With abundant amounts of this enzyme, the immortal jellyfish appears to be able to actively protect its cells from the natural processes of aging by simply lengthening its telomeres, effectively maintaining the integrity and protecting the precious DNA within its cells. It's a continuous, quiet act of internal preservation, ensuring that its genetic blueprint remains pristine, ready for countless cycles of life. On top of this meticulous DNA maintenance, when it is in its cyst stage, the jellyfish expends very little effort on cell replication or cell differentiation, and this makes perfect sense. When you consider its purpose, it is actively trying to prevent its cells from specializing, from committing to a particular adult form. Instead, its focus is entirely on the quiet, fundamental work of DNA repair and maintenance. The cysts also exhibit another telling characteristic. They show very little, if any, response to external stimuli. They are effectively in a state of quiet, internal focus, ensuring that all their energy, all their biological resources are directed towards this crucial process of self-renewal, until it is ready once more to gently unfurl and become a polyp. This unique, quiet strategy for survival has served Turritopsis dani incredibly well, so well in fact, that this tiny, unassuming creature is quietly and steadily spreading its presence across the world's oceans. Originally believed to be native to the calm, temperate waters of the Mediterranean Sea, it is now thought that these resilient little jellyfish have hitched rides on the hulls of boats, carried silently across vast distances. They are now found in almost every ocean, in practically every corner of the globe. Their extraordinary resilience, their ability to undergo such profound transformations and survive periods of stress, has undoubtedly contributed significantly to their remarkable success in colonizing and thriving across long distances, and in a multitude of diverse environments. They are a testament to the quiet power of adaptation and renewal. In the controlled, watchful environment of the laboratory, researchers have been able to observe the incredible capacity for regeneration in a single Turritopsis dani. They found that a single individual was capable of regenerating, of completing this full cycle of reversion and rebirth, an astonishing 10 times. And these cycles occurred at surprisingly short intervals, sometimes as frequently as once a month. Now imagine this phenomenon playing out in the wild, in the vast, unconstrained environment of the ocean. It is entirely plausible that this quiet dance of regeneration could go on for much, much longer, perhaps even forever, creating an eternal loop of back and forth transdifferentiations, a ceaseless, quiet renewal that defies our common understanding of life's finite nature. Of course, as fascinating as this discovery is, it is highly unlikely that humans will ever possess the ability to Benjamin Button ourselves, to simply reverse our aging process in such a complete and dramatic fashion. The biological complexity of humans, the intricate interplay of our organs and systems, and the vast differences in our cellular structures compared to a simple jellyfish make such a direct application improbable. However, even if direct immortality remains a distant dream, there are profound and valuable lessons we can quietly learn from this tiny jellyfish. These insights could potentially help us to stave off some of the debilitating diseases that often plague us later in life, offering a quiet hope for extended health and vitality. One area that the immortal jellyfish sheds a particularly interesting light on is the field of transdifferentiation, the ability to turn one cell type directly into another with few to no intermediate steps, and over a relatively short period of time, could open truly revolutionary doors in medical treatments. Imagine for a moment the quiet power of such a capability. Consider conditions like Parkinson's disease, where specific neuronal cells in the brain are lost or damaged, leading to debilitating symptoms. What if, through a deeper understanding of transdifferentiation, we could learn to gently encourage readily available cells, perhaps even simple skin cells, to directly transform into neuronal cells? These newly generated healthy neuronal cells could then be used to replace those that have been lost or damaged in the brain, offering a quiet, profound path to healing and recovery. Understanding the precise mechanisms, the subtle cellular signals that allow the immortal jellyfish to perform this biological alchemy could be a gentle guide, helping us to unravel how to achieve similar transformations in our own cells. Another fascinating area that the immortal jellyfish could illuminate for us involves microscopic molecules known as microRNAs. These are incredibly short strands of genetic material, far smaller than the familiar double helix of DNA, but they play a crucial and quietly powerful role in regulating our genetic code. Think of them as tiny, precise switches that can turn genes on or off, subtly influencing cellular processes. We now know that microRNAs are deeply involved in critical cellular functions, including the repair of DNA. And as we've learned, a tremendous amount of DNA repair is quietly happening within a regenerating Turritopsis dohrnii. Finding out more about how these microRNAs act to regulate DNA repair in the little jellyfish, how they orchestrate this cellular upkeep, could provide us with invaluable insights. These insights, in turn, could gently guide us towards new ways to enhance and regulate DNA repair mechanisms within our own cells, potentially offering a quiet shield against cellular damage and the ravages of age. Having said all this, it's important to approach these possibilities with a calm, balanced perspective. While it's true that humans and jellyfish, when considered at the fundamental genetic level, share some surprising similarities in terms of their DNA, a testament to the deep, shared evolutionary history of life on Earth, we also look incredibly different. Our evolutionary paths diverged a very, very long time ago on the tree of life. This means that there are genes present in jellyfish that are not expressed in humans, and vice versa. There may be fundamental biological differences, quiet barriers, that place some limitations on what is directly applicable from jellyfish biology to human physiology. The journey of scientific discovery is often one of small incremental steps, a quiet unfolding of understanding. While Turritopsis dohrnii was first discovered by scientists as early as 1883, its incredible potential for biological immortality remained a hidden secret for nearly a century, only coming to light in the late 1980s. This highlights a profound truth. The natural world is still a vast, largely unexplored library of wonders, and we are also quietly learning that this tiny jellyfish may not be entirely alone in its remarkable longevity. There may well be other creatures, other organisms, both known and yet to be discovered, that possess similar, if not entirely identical, secrets to defying the conventional rules of life and death. The natural world, from organisms both large and small, from the simplest single-celled microbes to the ancient towering trees, from the delicate jellyfish to the intricate networks of fungi, likely holds answers and solutions that we cannot even begin to conceive of right now. The vast, quiet tapestry of biodiversity is teeming with untold mysteries, waiting patiently to be revealed. But as we continue to discover more of this incredible biodiversity, and as our scientific technology becomes increasingly sophisticated and sensitive, allowing us to peer more deeply into the very essence of life, we are likely to find out so much more. This quiet expansion of knowledge may well open up entirely new avenues for treatments, not just for degenerative diseases that affect our minds and bodies, but also for challenging conditions like cancer. So while the immortal jellyfish may not hold a direct, simple answer to a never-ending life for humanity, its quiet existence and remarkable abilities can certainly offer us invaluable insights. It may at least give us a little more time, a little longer to fill our increasingly long lives with meaning, with connection, and with the joy of learning. It is profoundly important, I believe, to continuously fill our minds, to nourish our curiosity, to gently engage with new ideas and knowledge. And if you are like me, dear listener, entertaining but educational documentaries are one of the most wonderful and calming ways to fill both our minds and our quiet moments. YouTube in particular can be a treasure trove of such content. Finding a channel or a series that you can truly immerse yourself in, that is both engaging and educational, that expands your understanding of the world is one of the greatest, most satisfying feelings. It's like finding a quiet, intellectual comfort, a gentle companion for your thoughts. Conversely, one of the least pleasant feelings is when you find yourself completely out of ideas of what to watch, especially when you have your lunch gently placed in front of you, or when you're simply seeking a calming distraction, and you can't quite settle into your meal or your rest until you find something truly good, something that resonates with your quiet curiosity. This often happens to me when I've already explored nearly all the videos made by my favorite creators, and I find myself gently searching for new horizons. If you have ever experienced this quiet frustration, this momentary lack of content-induced despair, then allow me to share something that might bring you a sense of calm and discovery. Now is truly an excellent time to consider signing up for Nebula. Nebula is a unique streaming platform, a special space that I and several other educational content creators have built together. It is, quite simply, a goldmine of new original content, specifically designed for those who wish to dive deep, to explore, and to learn in a thoughtful, engaging way. Imagine, for instance, a journey deep into history. There's a brand new series, Battle of Britain, made by the very talented team behind this channel, along with the creators of Real Engineering. The quality of this series is so incredibly high, so meticulously crafted, that I truly can't believe it wasn't originally made for television. It is a series that will gently guide you through the key moments of the first major military campaign in history, to be fought entirely by air forces, a pivotal moment in human experience. The 3D animations are absolutely breathtaking, taking you into the heart of the action with stunning clarity, yet without ever feeling overwhelming. And the storytelling, presented with care and depth, will leave you captivated, allowing you to absorb profound historical insights while remaining deeply immersed in the narrative. All the while you are learning about one of the most important and defining moments in modern history, in a way that feels both enriching and calm. There are so many original series like this, waiting quietly for you to discover on Nebula, and new content is being added all the time, ensuring that your well of educational, engaging, and calming stories never runs dry. Right now, truly, is the single best time to sign up and embark on this journey of quiet discovery. And by choosing to subscribe, you are also supporting us and other creators in the most direct and meaningful way possible. Every single sign-up helps us to hire more animators, to take on even bigger, more ambitious projects, and to keep the lights on and the creative machines gently running, allowing us to continue bringing you these stories. So for something else to gently engage your mind right now, perhaps before you drift off to sleep, you might consider watching our previous video about the incredible harpy eagle, a majestic creature